This is Rob Tebbutt from Behind the Gloves. I am here with Adam Smith at the AMIR KHAN press conference announcement. How are you today, Adam?
Very well. I'm very excited about what's just happened. I didn't think, as AMIR said, that Eddie and him will be sitting so close and both smiling away. I wasn't sure if it was ever going to happen, but I've been chipping away for a long time at Eddie, saying, look, you know, I think we need to get this done. I think we need to get AMIR back on Sky. We've had our ups and downs over the years. I've known him a long time. We've always stayed friendly, and I've been fascinated with his career. But I believe that we're the right platform for him now, and I think that Matchroom are the best promotional outfit, and I think that it's a great win for AMIR. Back in Britain, he wants to fight here. It's a hugely exciting division. I mean, anywhere around the 147, 154 mark, and obviously with KHAN-BROOK as part of the same stable, it just makes that fight even easier to make. So I think it's really, really enticing times and a great start to 2018.
How easy or how difficult was it to get this deal done? I know you mentioned that you said you've been chipping away at Eddie, and there's obviously been the acrimony in the past between Eddie and AMIR.
Yeah.
How easy or difficult was it?
Well, I didn't know it was definitively done until a few hours ago. So, you know, it was, look, all of these things are hard, you know. AMIR, obviously, he's just been on I'm a Celebrity, where he's entertained thoroughly the British public. I thought maybe he'd be looking more at ITV, or, you know, Frank at BT, you know, who's doing a tremendous job there, and there's a lot of competition around now. You know, we're all looking forward to seeing how that unfolds during 2018, but, you know, Eddie and I work very closely together. I think Eddie's done an amazing job in revitalising the huge events in Britain, from the sort of 10,000 sellouts to the 70, 80,000 sellouts that we saw through last year with Anthony Joshua. So I think that, you know, boxing's in a very different place now than it was 2 or 3 years ago. And I think that all of these things are harder with competition and with more hard and difficult decisions to make. But I always thought that AMIR wanted to be on Sky. I think he likes us as an outfit. I think he likes our team. And you know, we've got a good arsenal, a good platform, you know, digital, social, Sky Sports News, Sky News, to really push him out there again. And I'm delighted to have him back on Sky Sports, because I think that's really important for the business. So, so yeah, it's tough, as all these things are, but it's a rewarding one in the end.
You obviously mentioned that you've known AMIR for a long time. How different is he now compared to the 17, 18, 19-year-old AMIR KHAN that you knew in the past?
He's still a nice kid, you know, he's still what he is, you know. I think he's obviously learnt a great deal about the business, good and bad. As I said, he's had his ups and downs, both in and out of the ring, and he's always been thrilling to watch. You know, we were reminiscing earlier about the Marcus Maidana fight and about those nights when he beat the likes of Barrera and Kotelnik and Dimitri Salita, who wiped away in Newcastle. And, you know, he's always good to watch. You know, whether you get a couple of knockdowns for him, against him, the speed. He's always, you know, you always want to watch an AMIR KHAN fight, and I always like being around him in the build-up, because he is like a big kid, really, and so he has obviously, you know, matured. He's got a family now. He's making good decisions, and I think this is one of them for the start of 2018. But he's still the AMIR KHAN I've always liked, and you know, long may that continue.
Well, you mentioned that he's obviously been on TV, on ITV, doing the I'm a Celebrity. Did you watch any of it?
I watched too much of it. My kids loved it as well. I mean, you know, the snakes and I mean, Jamie Lomas I know as well, and it was quite fun to watch them both at it. You know, he is what he is. You know, there was no pretense with AMIR. You know, I thought the strawberry thing was one of the funniest things I've seen in a long time. You know, not knowing the geography of Australia and America. I mean, but he is what he is, AMIR. He's always been a very honest, real kid, and you know, he was great to watch, I thought, and you know, good luck to him for doing it. Well done. He's entertained the public, and a little bit like in the ring, it was sort of must-watch telly, and it was great. And so, listen, he's done it. He's put his name back up there a bit. He's always managed to keep in the news for the sort of right or wrong reasons. He's always managed to keep his name in the spotlight. So, so that's a good thing. And I still think he's one of the biggest names in British sport, and we're delighted to be back working with him. But I'm also glad he's back out of the jungle, out of that sort of the sort of reality TV, and back to doing what he does best, which is boxing. And let's see what he's got left. He's come off a very, very tough defeat, which was, I guess, expected, but but still hard. And let's see him back at his around his own weight category, maybe back on home soil a bit more, and you know, in with a really enticing division. Long been talk of a Manny Pacquiao fight. You know, Errol Spence is obviously a possibility, but Kell-Brook remains the one that I want to see. Maybe once, maybe twice, maybe even a trilogy, because I think those two are made for each other. They don't like each other much. There's the strength and puncher of Brook to the skills of the speed of AMIR, the slight vulnerability of the Khan chin to the power of Brook. But you know, who's going to last, and will it be one apiece? And then I'm really fascinated to see that. I don't want that not to happen. And I think up in the Northwest, it's a huge fight. It's a huge fight for British boxing, full stop.
Respectfully, Adam, I'm going to put the brakes on the trilogy. I'd just like to see them fight once.
Well, I was saying a little earlier on, actually, to James Helder that I was very disappointed that Ricky Hatton and Junior Whitten never fought. There was a moment when that fight should have happened. There was a moment it sort of passed, and you know, Ricky had the fan base, Junior didn't. Junior was very dangerous for a while. Then I think it's a shame, and I think both fighters would probably now sit there and say we should have fought each other. I don't want that to happen with KHAN and AMIR. There's still time. Is it quite the fight it was 2 or 3 years ago? Maybe not. They both had those defeats, but in many ways, a couple of wins puts you back up there, and I think it will be a terrific duel. Froch and Groves had everything. Boxing's about narrative, about characters, and Kell-Brook and AMIR Khan have that. We had them on ringside, I don't know what it was, 3 or 4 years ago maybe, when, yeah, and they were, you know, there was spice then. That can be relit, and I'd like to see that happen.
Is there any way that this 3-fight deal can come to an end without that fight happening?
Of course, you never say never in boxing. Most people wouldn't have thought Eddie and AMIR would ever work together on the same side of the fence, so to speak. But this is what happens. Frank Warren's a genius at that. Sort of, you know, people going, James DeGale going back to him, and you know, it's business, and ultimately the fighters have got to do what's right for them. I think the 3 fights could be, you know, AMIR Khan against American opponents, and Kell-Brook could go a slightly different route and win a world title up at 11 stone, and they may not fight. But I think it's unlikely. I think that when they both hopefully get their comeback wins, and you know, they'll have difficult tests to get through. Kell's got Rabchenko, and AMIR has a long list of tough opponents, and so once they get through that, and they need to rebuild a bit, both of them. You know, they've had a tough couple of years, and so I'd like to see them have a couple of fights, and maybe back end of this year or possibly the spring of next year. You know, I mean, that's football stadium territory, outside, outdoors, maybe, you know, up in Manchester or Bolton or Liverpool, anywhere around there. I could see that fight happening. Sheffield, we've done Bramall Lane. Will we do that again? I think AMIR would probably want it on maybe more neutral territory, so I could see that happening. I'd love to see it happening, but or even in the Manchester Arena or something like that. It's a fight that the British public should see at some point. So I'd be very disappointed if our reconnection with AMIR and AMIR's new forge and bond with Matchroom doesn't make the Brook Khan or the Khan-Brook, however you look at it, fight happen. And who wins? That's a big question.
I thought you were asking me that.
Well, I don't know. I don't think you could give an answer, and I certainly can't. So that's the fascination. That's why we want to see it.
And just finally, staying with what you've just said about AMIR's potential opponents, obviously Adrian Broner has been a heavily mooted potential foe. If that fight were to come to fruition, who would you give the edge to in that fight?
I think you'd probably give it to AMIR. I think Adrian Broner, when I saw him beat Gavin Rees a few years ago, and I was lucky enough to be ringside and up close, I thought he was an unbelievable talent, and I thought that maybe he had a chance of sort of not emulating everything Floyd Mayweather did, but certainly becoming the next massive pay-per-view attraction. It didn't quite work out. I think he jumped up a little bit too far, too soon, and he's had his problems out of the ring. And you know, the mantle seems to have been sort of passed. Obviously, Vasyl Lomachenko, Mikey Garcia, great fighters, but the mantle in many ways has been passed to the likes of someone like Gervonta Davis. And again, on the Mayweather-McGregor night, Gervonta Davis sort of made a bit of a mess of it. So, you know, you want to see these pay-per-view stars come, and I think with Broner, it's probably the right time to fight him. He's just gone over the edge slightly, I think, and so I would give the edge to AMIR. But listen, he's still got bundles of talent, and if Broner really wants it, it's a very, very hard ask for AMIR. But I think that it may be a case of timing is right. That said, AMIR's been out for a long time as well. He's had his hand injury, but he looks in good shape, and I don't think the jungle did any harm in terms of sort of, you know, making sure his weight was kept in check. So I think, look, let's see how how the next 2 or 3 weeks develop in that, but Broner's definitely a fight that should be made.
Okay, well, Adam Smith, thank you very much for speaking to Behind the Gloves. First time we've actually done this. Look forward to doing it again sometime.
Absolutely, no problem at all.
Thanks very much for speaking
Happy New Year to a good one.
You too. Thanks very much,
Cheers.
Adam. Thank you.
No problem.
Hey, fight fans, it's Michelle Joy Phelps, and if you haven't already subscribed to my YouTube channel, make sure you go ahead and do so by clicking right here.